What's going on, everybody? Andrew Thompson here of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. Joining me today is a very special guest. You have seen this man, the championship wrestler from Hollywood. He's been on UWN's Primetime Live. You've seen him appear once on AEW. He did a joint show with GCW. This is the man himself, Watts. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
What up, man? Feeling good. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. Now, I got to ask you right off the gate. You literally just came off a match, I think, about a week ago or several weeks ago against the man himself, Too Cold Scorpio. What was it
Yeah,
like? What was it like being in the ring with Too Cold, man?
man. What was that? I think that was a week ago. Dang, time flies. That was it. Was honestly like, I've been around for a little bit now, and it's amazing how much you can learn in one match with one guy. Just so many things that I was able to pick up on, and just different things that the knowledge he was passing on without even realizing it, probably, you know what I mean? Just sponging it all up.
Mm-hmm.
He's real old school, he's been in there with the best of the best. He's been in there with everybody. And like, to be able to be in the ring with a guy like that was nothing but positive for me, man.
Yeah, it seems like 2019, 2020, 2021. It's like Too Cold has like become like one of those guys like from the 90s that was always great, but it's like people are just now starting to give him his flowers. Like,
Right.
you realizing that?
Oh, that's real, man. I'm hoping he gets a PCL type of run, where real late in their career they just suddenly blow up, and
Yeah.
Too Cold definitely deserves that.
Now, I remember like I've like for years, like because I had just gotten like acclimated with the SoCal wrestling scene. I want to say like 2018, like that's when I like really got into it. And I've like throughout the years, I've always heard your name and I've seen quite a few of your matches. But I remember last year, I want to say like late 2020, I saw you on the United Wrestling Network's primetime live show. I think it was against Eli Drake. And I remember when I saw you come out, I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, that's Watts. And
Sure.
it was cool to see you. But you were able to get into UWN through Championship Wrestling from Hollywood slash Dave Marquez, right?
That's right. No, the United Wrestling Network is very similar to the NWA, and that's a sanctioning body. So they kind of govern a bunch of different promotions.
Mm.
And a good rule of thumb for me is like whenever you hear Championship Wrestling, that's usually United Wrestling Network. A branch of them. Yeah, so I've been involved with the United Wrestling Network for over 10 years now, and
Mm.
I'm part of that fabric of that place, whether people want to admit it or not. It's true. and
Right.
uh and so like naturally, I got to be a part of the primetime live series, and going against Eli Drake, or LA Knight, he's called these days. That was our one and only time ever wrestling one-on-one,
Mm.
and I'm glad it got to happen on that show.
Right. And I know those shows they taped out of Long Beach and then the California wrestling scene, as we were just talking about off air. Like just tell me about like what the scene has been like, throughout the pandemic. Of course, things were kind of tight because the restrictions were tight in place over there in California. But like as we are now, we're starting to see things starting to open back up a bit more. Like what has this California wrestling scene been like over the past several months or so?
It was really bleak for the past several months. It's just, I'm gonna say, in the last three or so, has it's really starting to pick up. But
Mm.
like, honestly, this year 2021, it's really opened up. But as far as 2020 goes, man, it was a wasteland. It was like a ghost town.
Mm.
We just weren't allowed to have anything. We weren't allowed to have, I think it was 15 people in a room, I think, or in a building. I believe it was 15 people. And if you weren't essential to anything, you weren't allowed to leave your house, really. So like, there
Mm.
weren't any possible ways to have shows safely here. I did see a couple of drive-in shows that took place. I wasn't on any of those, but people were doing that. But for the most part, it was just it was a wasteland, man. It was there's nothing happening.
Yeah, it seemed like it's like certain areas throughout the U.S. like civilly in 2020 that kind of they didn't really shut down for the most part. It was like
No, right.
they just kept going on as it is. I know like Atlanta was one of the high spots. Like of course Florida, like Florida is like a whole different.
Florida's its own thing. Florida should be its own country at this point. They do whatever they want.
Like, I would say, how many headlines have you seen on social media with like Florida man
Florida man. Oh,
does
Florida man is on the job daily. Florida man gets done every single day.
Mhm. Yeah, that's say I remember last year, oh no, earlier this year, I was actually listening to an interview that Dave Marquez did, and he was talking about the because he it was after he suspended operations for UWN, the primetime live shows. And I remember he was talking about like kind of trying to keep the shows together like throughout that stretch late 2020. And it was just like, you had to fly talents in, and then sometimes, they have other shows, and then they'll produce a positive COVID test, and then you got to rewrite the whole show. So he was just like, it was just a lot, to the point where it was just like the only thing that was left to do was just suspend operations until things sort of pick back up. Did you kind of catch that vibe that like, things started to, I mean, of course they're going to get hectic when you have talents coming in from various parts of the country, but did you start to get the sense that it was like shows kept being changed, and it was just the only thing that was left to do?
I think it was the only thing left to do, and I think it was the right decision. I think safety and health should come first before anything else. And I think shutting down operations isn't the fun decision to make, but it's the right one. So I fully support that.
Mm-hmm. And going back to early 2020, of course, I remember a match that you had with Ricky Shane Page. I think it was a joint show with GCW. Like when you're working with a guy like that, who I think is no bus about it to say that the crowd is not in favor of Ricky Shane Page at all. Is it kind of easy to be the good guy in that scenario when you got a guy like Ricky Shane Page and the crowd reacts to him the way that they do?
Yeah, Ricky Shane Page, man, that guy. I remember that match. It was he just the crowd wouldn't let him speak. Like whenever they put the mic up, they just wouldn't. They wouldn't let him speak, and like it was. I'm someone that loves like heat like that. Like those who really get actual real heat, and he is. I feel like his praises aren't really sung highly enough for what he was able to do. This is his GCW title reign.
Yeah.
And this the heat he was able to generate, man. Like it was something special. It was cool. It was cool to be a part of that. And it was really easy to be the good guy in that situation because they hated him that much. So that dude that was some heat.
Yeah, I definitely think RSP is probably one of those guys on the independent scene that really doesn't get like the for being a good bad guy. Like when I say good bad guy, I mean like he's like a like a really like
Really
he's really good at what he does.
Really
So I think that was cool. But like not to dive too much into that, but of course that was that was a joint show with Bar Wrestling, and the whole falling out of the speaking out movement that came with Bar Wrestling promoter. But I don't want to dive too deep into that because of course, with much respect to the victims. I mean, much respect to the victims and those who were affected by that and those that speak out. I think that was really big on everybody to speak out on that. But like just talking about like the more so of the atmosphere as far as the crowd having those like close quarters, like being right in in the mix with the wrestlers. Like was that something kind of special to you, specifically pertaining to the fans? Being like to have that like it's just like an arm's reach away from the wrestlers. I'm pretty sure that was something like that was missed.
I think bar wrestling saved my career, man. To be honest, I felt real stagnant and kind of just like there's nothing really going on here for me much in LA. And then bar wrestling came around and gave kind of gave my career a little bit of rocket fuel a little bit, and kind of I took off a little bit, and just getting in there with guys who were the top indie names and the guys with all the buzz. Like I was working with those guys multiple times a month. So like that place was a great opportunity. And as far as like the plan, the fans being close like that, I think that is the best way to do indie wrestling right there. That is. It's all about the people, and it's all about the energy, and like that's just the most fun environment that I think I've ever been in.
All right, and continuing to speak on the California wrestling scene, like for you being on that scene as long as you have, like it's PWG always been a goal of yours?
It used to be. I think PWG. I think there's validation with being booked in a place like that, but I also understand like I don't really like do that kind of style. I'm more like old school, like I don't know, TV style wrestling is what I like to describe it. But I mean, I can do that style, but it's not one that I'm known for really. So I PWG is obviously would be amazing to work there, but it's not like I'm not gonna lose sleep over not working there.
I want to ask you, like you just mentioned something that was real interesting. Like, what do you think about like the sort of the argument that there's like sort of a shortage of traditional style big men in professional wrestling, meaning like you have big men that are doing that, they incorporate the cruiserweight style into their style of wrestling, opposed to what people would consider the traditional style of a big man is. Do you think that just that's a fair argument, or you think just people just evolve with professional wrestling and try to incorporate more stuff into their styles? Like not everybody has to be plain cut and dry, like exactly what people would make them out to be.
I'm really trying to understand where this originated from. This big man, traditional big man,
Right.
because traditions are who decides when something when it starts being a tradition and when it doesn't. Who decides that? And it's like, big men, as long as I can remember, have been flying. Like Undertaker
Mm-hmm.
has been soaring over the top rope for 30 years. Uh, Bam Bam Bigelow was doing moonsaults. Way back in the day. We Mike Awesome was doing springboards. 30 years ago in on the East Coast and in Japan. Like, big men have always been able to do that. It's just like there's more eyes on it now. There's more guys who are down to do that stuff. And I think overall, like big men we're just different, these days. We just want to do the stuff that everybody does, and that's always how it's been.
Right.
Big men have always been aerial, they've always flown. Now more guys are just doing it, and that's it.
I mentioned at the top of the interview, of course, you had your appearance on AEW Dark last year. I know you worked with Ray. I think it was Ray Rosas. That's who you team with. You team with Jungle Boy. I mean, went up against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I know you guys are no strangers to them. I know you guys have seen them all over the place on the SoCal scene. Like, what was it like, kind of being in that under the AEW umbrella for that one occasion? Of course, I'm assuming being at the tables and stuff, the Dynamite tape, and like what was it like being under that, and then we're working with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, who you guys are already familiar with. I'm pretty sure it was something that was like, I'm pretty sure it was cool, and having been in front of a live crowd and stuff like that, and having like, seeing the atmosphere. But like, I'm pretty sure it was like, now I don't want to say run of the mill, because I mean that pertaining to you guys are already familiar with one another.
Yeah, no, it was for me. I was really happy when I found out I was working with them, just because, like you said, we were familiar with each other, and we knew that we could do some hot work out there. So I think a load was lifted off of my shoulders once it was like, okay, I'm working them. Sweet. I'm familiar with them, and they're from LA and stuff, so it was cool. We just do what we would do there, but just do it here.
Mm.
Uh, and honestly, that would have been the case for lots of members on that roster. Lots of the people there I've been on shows with and have worked and stuff. So like, like, that's the environment that someone can succeed in, is when you've worked them already prior.
Mm.
The match was fun. They those bless those guys. They gave us a lot of offense in that match, and most of the time, extras don't really get that, and so like they did us a favor there. Um, and we went out there and put on some fun stuff.
Yeah,
Like that.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was a lot of guys there that you saw that you've been on the independent scene with. I know Scorpio Sky. You got Frank Kazarian over there. You got Coach, like I mentioned, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Like, I'm pretty sure Peter Avalon is in AEW. Like, I'm pretty
Everybody,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
homies, yeah.
it's just like a cool thing to see. I'm pretty sure it's just a cool thing
Yeah.
to see everybody there, man. Everybody kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, it makes me, it's so dope seeing all the homies do that. Like, just because, like, no one, like, because I know like lots of their individual struggles and stuff. So like, just seeing them like persevere through that is amazing. Especially
Yeah.
Peter. I love seeing Peter on TV, man. That dude is so underappreciated. That dude deserves the world.
You feel like when if Peter gets he has had several opportunities on TV, but I mean, like, get a proper singles run going, you think he'll show people what he really can do in the ring, opposed to what they've what they've seen from him on TV, like as far as doing the librarian stuff.
I think Peter doesn't have many holes in his game. I think he can talk really well. I think he's really good at selling. He's really good at flying. He can, mat wrestle. I think there's nothing he can't do. And I think if they give him, the spotlight, I think he crush it.
And something you said, you said you referred to yourself as an extra doing the AEW Dark show. I really don't consider like the talents that compete on AEW Dark or AEW Dark Elevation as talent, because they don't really treat you like an extra. It's like you get treated just like what you are. You presented as a professional wrestler, and they don't really like just shove you off. Of course, there are matches that happen where it's like 1 minute, 2 minute, but I think that's just to further promote the wrestler who's on consistently on TV. But like one thing that I've heard like from a lot of talents that have competed on Dark or Elevation is that how accessible and how available Tony Khan is, and like they go up to him and speak to him, and he's wide open to have conversations back. Did you get the opportunity to meet Tony Khan or have a conversation with him past the the cordial stuff?
Yeah, I didn't actually have a chance to meet Tony Khan. He was really, really busy that day. I forget
Mm.
what we were doing, but he was running around all over the place. Oh yeah, it was a brawl with Mr. Brody Lee and Cody back when
Oh,
you remember that era, that time when they
yeah.
were feuding.
Mm.
Like that big brawl was a big that was a big thing, that was a big setup. So like that took a kind of a lot of time, and there was is one of those things where like, you know, if I'm there for 10 days, I'd be able to speak to him for 9 of them, but this was the one time where he was just too busy. So
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to speak to him, but I've, lots of my friends that have and stuff, and they, he's cool and he likes to have a good time. So, I'm my kind of guy.
One thing I really did want to talk to you about, man, was you were a part of Talking Shopper Mania.
Oh
You were a
yeah.
part of Talking Shopper Mania. I think you won
Yeah.
Team Chavo, I think, and you faced
Yeah.
Team Rocky Romero. Like, what was that whole vibe like there, man?
Yeah,
Because I know it's
those guys
because
are crazy, man. Like to come up with some of the stuff they come up with, like, oh boy, like lots of that's Rocky Romero. He's that dude's funny as hell, man. People don't know how funny that guy is.
Yeah, it seems like in that type of environment, like these talking shop environments that they put together, like it's just laughs 24. People always joking around, playing like that seems like a really fun environment to be a part of.
Yeah, it was tight. That was my first time being there, and I was like, man, this is what I want wrestling to be like every time. This is the best. Let's always
Mm,
do this,
mm.
But yeah, no, that's their big special production, and it takes a lot of work putting that on. But yeah, dude, that stuff it was pretty damn funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
saying going back to championship wrestling from Hollywood, of course, I believe you were their heritage champion for a year long, I believe. And I know, of course, the pandemic was, was a factor in that. But does it mean anything special to you or hold any weight with you, to be forever stamped in as a promotions or organizations champion for a year long? Like I'm pretty sure, like that's something that, well, it is not even pretty sure it's something that nobody could ever take away from you. And I'm pretty sure that's like a cool thing. But does it hold any special weight with you?
Yeah, it definitely does. Especially considering that I wasn't booked like initially when the show started. Way back in the day, I was overlooked to be a part of the roster.
Mm.
So to not even be given a jobber, squash match spot to being the champion for over years, that's a story right there. You know what I mean? That's a story of patience and perseverance and not sucking as much. Yeah. So nah, man, I always look back in that time as a great time, man. I felt it was dope being that heritage champion.
I say and throughout your years in the business, like what have you like what improvements have you seen for people of color, for black talents, like that you've
Oh
seen just over
man.
the years? Like I'm pretty sure like maybe in the early 2000s, maybe even you could go as far back as 2014 or 2013, like it wasn't really what it is now. It feels like just this surge, like over the past several years, like you've seen so many black talents like take to the forefront, man. And it's been really cool to see. Like there are so many people who rightfully do deserve to be on TV and they should be on TV. But I mean, I don't like. I mean, I think that's cool, but I don't think everybody. That's not everybody. I'm not gonna say that's everybody's goal, but like it's just really cool to see so many black talents like sort of take the forefront, man, to kind of find their own path and make their own way without conforming to what the stereotype or whatever idea that someone may think of them or like try to place them in a box, basically.
Yeah, no, it's you said it. This is the golden age to be a black wrestler right now. There's never been a time in history that's been like now. You
Mm.
know, we've had two black WWE champions in the last 3 years, and you know, you know, uh, Swan was Impact champion for a long time,
I think he was the I think he was the second. I think the second or third Black Impact World Champion. I
yeah,
think he was the second
so
behind Bobby Lashley.
yeah, so last year, yeah, so and then and across other companies, their representation, and along the women, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair and all them. It's just like there's never been a time like this. There just hasn't been where people of color are getting those spots like at the same time, no less. So it's I mean it's beautiful to watch, to be honest.
Mhm. And like over the past I would say like the past 10 interviews I've done or maybe 9 or 8, like when I've spoken to independent wrestlers, like I've always asked them this question. I'm curious to get your take as well. Like it's been sort of a shift as far as like independent wrestlers and how they take upon the business. Like it seems like a lot of wrestlers are starting to treat themselves more like a business opposed to just being strictly a professional wrestler. Like I've said this a few times, like you've seen wrestlers starting to get more involved on Twitch and they're getting more involved in outside projects and stuff like that. Have you kind of sort of seen that shift where you see a lot of wrestlers starting to look for, things that they can do outside of professional wrestling? Not saying that wrestling isn't their sole focus, but people just realizing that you can do this and do this.
Yeah, two people that come to mind right away are Zicky Dice and
Zicky Dice is hilarious. Yeah.
that's an Effie. They are big on Twitch and they wrestle, and those dudes have figured out how to have something that is, wrestling adjacent and also have wrestling, so yeah, that's lots of guys are trying to get to that level, and myself, I'm going to be trying to do that too pretty soon here. So it just makes a lot of sense. There's another way to connect with the people and to do something else you enjoy, which for most people is video games, and to be able to share that with fans is something that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. And one cool thing that I read up on, man, was like I know you had a match for on an Impact special with Chris Bay, and I think you guys took on was it Peter Avalon and Ray Rosas? So you guys took on,
yeah.
And I know you and Chris, you guys wrestled against each other for championship wrestling in Hollywood. So I'm pretty sure that was like a cool, little full circle, well, not full circle moment, but like just a cool thing, man, that happened. And then of course to see where he is now, and you and both of you guys have gone on to do your own things. I think that's a cool thing, man.
Yeah, no, Chris Bay has come. He's come a long way, real fast. He's real talented. That guy is. But he's always been respectful. He's always the day I met him, he's just never nothing but respectful, nothing but nice. And he's real safe in the ring. I never remember him hurt nobody or get him. So it's just he's it's really been awesome to see him thrive. Just especially being a young black kid. Having the deck stacked against you just because of that off from the jump, and to see him be able to do what he's been doing it is cool.
Mm-hmm. And that one thing I do gotta ask you, about the your run on Tough Enough, man. Yeah, WWE Tough Enough. I gotta ask you about that. Like, what was that experience like? Of course, being in front of I know Stone Cold was consistently there. Trish Stratus was like a regular guest coach, and Booker T, Bill DeMott, like that whole environment. Like, what was in the kind of sort of reality TV thing in a way? Like, what was that kind of something that you were like? I don't want to say accustomed to, but like, was that something that you had to adjust as far as like combining, also being in this real competition, but having a reality TV aspect of it as well?
Yeah, part of my problem was I didn't want to do any of the reality TV bullshit. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't there for the reality TV, and I think I screwed myself by saying that a lot to the producer. I don't want to be in a stupid reality show. I just want to get my contract, Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone can go in a situation like that and not be like, what is going on here? With just the, like you said, the competition aspect and the reality show aspect. It's just two like massive, heavy, forces colliding, and there's no way you can prepare for something. There's no way you can prepare for something like that. You just got to do it.
Mm-hmm. And you guys had like it was a solid class you guys had, man. From what I remember, I think it was yourself. I think Ariane Andrew was in that class. Eva Lise. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody else was in that class. Y'all had like it was a sharp class that y'all had, man.
Yeah, we had AJ Kirsch in there. We had
AJ Kirsch, yep.
Marty the Moth in there. Yep. We had Miss USA was in there. Who else was in there? M-Dog 20, Matt Cross.
Matt Cross. M-Dog 20. Because I remember when people call him Matt Cross, that's like the first. I think about M-Dog because of that video game.
Yeah.
The backyard wrestling game. Yeah.
Yeah, that M-Dog, he was there. And I can't really think of anybody else, but those are the guys I remember for sure.
Oh, so another thing that I did want to ask you, like of course I remember Lucha Underground was filmed in California. Did you ever get any inkling, or not necessarily inkling, but like did you ever get any call or anything about Lucha Underground? Like I was just curious because I know there were a lot of SoCal wrestlers that were involved.
Yeah, I did some extra bits for them, some security bits. Okay. My problem was I was like double the size of everybody there, so it was real tough to. And they had Luchasaurus there. And I don't know, there was a big market for me there, so which is fine. But it was still fun though. They put in a great show.
Mm-hmm. And let's say 5 years from now? Like, well, let's not go there. Let's say 2 years from now. Like, what are some of like the short term goals that you want to accomplish inside and outside of professional wrestling?
My goal with wrestling, short term, long term, any term, has been able to make a living off of it and have it be my sole source of income. So I don't need it to be any specific place. I just need the checks to clear.
Right. I feel that. So and simple, man. I feel that. I feel that
Sure.
100%.
So
Whilst please feel free, man, to plug any merchandise you got, social
sure.
media. I'm gonna make sure to plug everything in the description of this video.
Appreciate that. Yeah, no, y'all can find me on Twitter. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so Darth Watts is my Twitter handle. Darth Watts is not my wrestling name. My wrestling
Mhm.
name is just Watts. um, it's funny if you go back and watch that match with the AEW match we're talking about.
Mm.
They got that video wall like the Titantron.
Yeah.
They put Darth Watts on that. Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but like
They probably went straight to your Twitter and saw
that shit
that.
was funny. I was
Yeah.
like I was Darth Watts of AEW with Dark. I was Darth Watts AEW Dark forever. But anyways, yeah, you can find me as Darth Watts on Twitter, and then Instagram is at the Big Watts. And that's really it. I don't really Facebook. I'm trying to keep that more under control, so I'm not really going to plug that. But Instagram, Twitter are those are the ones I would prefer that people follow me on.
There it is. There it is, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Andrew Thompson of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel, signing off with the man himself, Watts, and we are out. Peace.